So hi to everyone who's just joining today. Thanks very much for coming to this webinar. We're very lucky today because we've got not one, but two Michaels. So we're joined by Michael Fally, Head of Learning at SPAR, Michael Repnik, the Managing Director at LearnChamp, and also joined by Georgie Dimitrov today, the Technical Lead from LearnChamp. So hi to everyone, welcome to today's webinar. Today we're going to be looking at SPAR's Totara platform, which is an award-winning platform, and it won the 2022 Retail for the best project. So really lucky to go behind the scenes and take a look at this project. Just a little bit of housekeeping. So today's webinar is being recorded. Michael, do you mind changing the slide to the next one for me?
Yeah, for sure.
Thanks very much. So this session is being recorded. So yeah, if you want to pass this on to your colleagues after the session, you're very welcome to. If you have questions after the webinar today, you're also very welcome to post those in the Totara community. And if you have questions today, you're also welcome to use the Q&A function, or you can use the chat just to ask some questions, and we'll come to those as is appropriate. And on the next slide, Michael. So if you're watching this webinar on YouTube, you can come and join the Totara community. It's a free community for everyone using Totara, and you can use our Totara Academy and you can watch webinars such as this one. We also have dedicated help documentation, and that's available at totara.help. Take a look at that if you're trying to learn more about Totara. On the next slide. Right, so over to you, Michael. So I think everyone is very aware of SPAR. But if you could give us a sort of introduction as to who SPAR is really and what you do, that'd be great to learn.
Okay, thanks a lot. So I'm under a little bit pressure, and to be honest, I'm not a native speaker, and I hope you understand what I say. So I try to do my best. And at first, so a very warm welcome from my side. My name is Michael Fally, and I am responsible at the SPAR Group for digital learning and development. And so today I'm invited from Matt and would like to tell you more about our Totara story. But before, as usual, I have to tell some words about SPAR. Yeah. Okay. So here you see the map of SPAR Austria and where Austria is now active. So it's Austria and the surrounding countries. And there are a lot of logos, yeah? And each logo stands for a different unit or for a different pillar, which I would like to explain very briefly. So the first pillar is the food retail business, and that's our SPAR core business. And with around 1,600 outlets in Austria, SPAR supplies the entire country with high quality foods, from Vorarlberg in the west to Burgenland in the Ost. So that's maybe not known in the States because Austria is also very small. But be sure, there's hardly a local community without a SPAR store in Austria. So that's our goal. So that's maybe the known pillar from everyone if you hear about SPAR, but that's not the truth, because SPAR has also been very successful in the sports retail business for around 50 years through its subsidiary called Hervis. And they have a trendy, very range of goods and services. And Hervis is an expert in world fashion and especially in sports. Yeah? And the motto of Hervis is "Get moving." Could be also our motto or the motto from my team, because I also want to move forward now with Totara, and this is perfect, supporting me. And Hervis is also moving internationally, and so we are also using Totara at the Hervis subsidiary, but more about that a little bit later. And the third pillar is about shopping centers. So that's called in short SES. And the SES are the market leaders for large scale shopping malls in Austria. And for example, especially in Slovenia, the company develops, leases and manages both its own shop centers and those belonging to other investors. So that's also a very successful unit where SPAR is active. So, but just keep in mind, the SPAR Austrian Group is highly successful in the food retail business, but that's not the only business. Yeah. So that was a very short introduction about SPAR in Austria and also the surrounding countries. And I love to travel to the countries, believe me.
Thanks, Michael. That's a perfect introduction. And you have quite a large team supporting you as well, don't you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true. So it's not only me. So there are much more around, and my team is now. My team is there are 7 people around, and we are directly located in the Department of Human Resources. And our job is to serve all the organizational units so that learning and development is in each unit successful. That's really our goal and our mission. And the demands on my team are very high, because you can imagine, on one hand, IT skills are required to be able to discuss topics with the IT, and sometimes that happens. Georgi knows that. And on the other hand, we're also responsible for the e-learning courses for the SPAR outlets. So there are around 20,000 employees, and we are creating the courses. And so I need team members that are able to illustrate very well. But much more important, we need people who can transform the content which is required from the sales, you know, these letters, into appealing stories, so that learning becomes more an experience. So that's the goal. And the fun part at the end, you see a lot of ladies on this picture, and currently 4 colleagues of mine are on maternity leave. So not only our work is very fruitful, yeah, that's life, yeah. Okay, so that was about my team in short. I'm the oldest one, to be honest, yeah, as you can see.
It looks like you're very good at yoga as well, Michael. So that's great to see as well. Very flexible team you have there.
Yeah.
So you've also got a lot of success with the SPAR project, and you have well, you're going to show us some numbers in a second, but yeah, we'd love to see some of those larger numbers you have.
Yeah, so I think it's important to know what's around. And so, to be honest, there are about 90,000 users in the system, and that's quite a huge number. But at all, 65% are active by now. And so not everyone needs Totara in the organization by now, because there are maybe lorry drivers or other units where no learnings are required at the moment, but 65% is really a success. And we are supporting about 30 key users from 8 different units. So that's also my responsibility, to get them trained, to get them in the system, and to enable them to use Totara in the right way. And yeah, numbers are always changing. So maybe these numbers are also old by now. And at all, there are 1,400 courses, and they are split up to seminars in presence and online trainings. And the best would be the online, the combination, so blended learning. And by now we have nearly 650,000 course completions in our system, and also 130,000 seminars. So there's much traffic now in the system. And so therefore a stable system and experts are really required. And therefore I'm very happy that LearnChamp is supporting us. And just 2 numbers to round it up. On the right-hand side, the number of organizational units in Austria, it's close to 14,000, and around 350 positions or jobs we have now in the system. And there are much more numbers, but as Matt mentioned, time is short. So you can imagine the dimension, yeah.
I think it's brilliant to see these great numbers that you've got. But obviously, sort of like a good novel, we've gone right to the end first. So if we go back to the start and think about some of SPAR's biggest challenges that you had when you started to look at the project, what were some of the main challenges that SPAR had?
Yeah. So the challenges, I would like to split the challenges up in general conditions as they are, and wishes from the organization. So I tried to rise some topics. So it's always a challenge to set up a system serving 90,000 employees, because there is much power in behind, and there are a lot of requests, and 90,000 people. Then you ran into the problem, or not the problem, into the challenge with multilingual setups. So we have to serve different languages from the system user interface to the courses. So that should also be kept in mind. Then, one of the biggest challenges the HR data, because at SPAR we have different SAP instances which should all deliver the data into one system. So that's always tricky. And don't forget, big organization, there are a lot of organizational units involved and people involved there. And it's important to bring them all together on one table and discuss topics and to be very transparent. Yeah. And the main challenge was at the beginning that there have been different applications for the staff managers for the outlets. So one application for the seminars, other application for e-learning. And don't forget, in each organization, there's always Excel. Yeah. And to bring them all together, that was not that easy. So to get all the historical data, learning records in the existing system, that's an ongoing process, as you can imagine. Then there was no concept at the beginning about the system development. So luckily, Totara offers really a lot of features. By now, the number of requests for features goes really down, and there was no concept of testing. So imagine if there are 8 organizational units, a lot of people around, you have to be sure if when there is an update, how the test process will run and who is responsible for what. And so, that was also a challenge at the beginning. And also the central responsibility. But by now that's clear. So my team is responsible for the system in the company and is supporting all the units. When we started, also GDPR was a topic. And luckily, I must say that Totara is GDPR compliant. And that was a major issue for organization because you know there are different countries and we have to take care that only data is visible to the right units. Yeah. And so also the whole requirement management is a challenge, was a challenge at the beginning, because you can imagine different organizational units have a lot of wishes. Yeah. And to bring them together, that was also not easy. And in some areas, a lack of business processes. So when you ran a platform for 90,000 employees, you're the front face. Yeah? And everything what's not going right or is not running correct pops up at your desk. Yeah? So that's still a challenge in some areas. And just to focus on the wishes. So when a new system should be implemented at SPAR, the wish was an overview for the managers, especially for the record of learning for the employees to be able to steer the education. Then clearly available 24 hours, 7 days a week, because people also wanted to use the platform at home. Then mobile first. So not every employee at SPAR has a mobile device, but when we introduce a new system, this is really required to think mobile first, to have responsive content and courses, and to see what you get. And the main goal was a quick knowledge transfer. You know, retail changes and processes are changing and products are changing. So there's really need to get the knowledge out to the stores very quick. And therefore you need a system which is supporting this in a smart way, as Totara does. And to be able to use a mix of methods with blended learning and all the concepts and activities Totara now offers. And for me, it was very important. I mentioned before proprietary systems. I really love open systems, open flexible systems, because you get your data out and you can do a lot of things. And when the system is open, you can also hook other applications into, and that's really smart and lovely. Therefore, I'm happy to be here. The development should be driven by the community, and I'm really impressed. So Matt, great job. I am also always fascinating what people are doing with Totara and all the requests around. That's great, and much more.
There's always a wish for more, isn't there?
Yeah, you're right.
That's great. There's a great team here as well working on the Totara community. But yeah, thanks for all that. And the next focus we're looking at is the fact that you're trying to make this the one-stop shop for all of your L&D.
Yeah. So that's true. So the main goal of the system was or the primary goal was to create a platform for the employees, but especially for the managers that can answer all the questions about learning and development. In other words, as you said, Matt, a real one-stop shop for the employees in the group. Otherwise, it would not have been possible to combine. So on one hand, the practical seminars and learning on the job, the webinars and the online training as blended learning concepts under one roof. Yeah. And with Totara, this is really possible by now. Yeah.
Thanks, Michael. And obviously, we're going to dig more into the platform and to see all the great features that you've got. But you've built an incredible Totara project here. But of course, that wouldn't have been possible without your partner, LearnChamp. So it'd be interesting just to learn about how you've started to work with LearnChamp and what you'd like to say about LearnChamp, really.
So yeah, the funny part is that we came across LearnChamp, which is not far away from Salzburg. So for an Austrian, that are about 300 kilometers, and that's quite a distance. So maybe in America, that's a little bit different. So, but LearnChamp is situated in Vienna, and we had a chance to talk together because we had an issue with migrating a database. And so I think, Georgi, you had a solution, and this was the first contact. And this resulted in a solid partnership over several years. And LearnChamp stands us, helps us as an experienced Totara partner in all challenges. And you can imagine, we have a lot of challenges. And always like to find new challenges for Georgi. For this reason, we now have a solid system architecture. We'll show it a little bit later. And also the latest version of Totara, 16.3, and operation, and that's very good. Yeah. And so important for the choice was, on one hand, for the partner, the proximity to Vienna, the flexible support and the good relationship to Totara at all, and the competency also to develop new features in fast sprints. Because, you know, sales has a wish, and want to have a solution maybe in 1 or 2 weeks. And so LearnChamp is very helpful and very competent in this field. So thanks a lot. That was some short reasons. Yeah.
That's great. Thanks, Michael. And also we're joined by Michael number 2. So Michael Replic, to learn more about LearnChamp.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for the introduction before. I will keep it short and brave, and just wanted to add on what Michael number 1 has said, that we also love the challenge, really. We do have long-term experience with Totara and a great team behind that with different roles. And we love easy small projects, but we also love projects like the one at SPAR, because we love to create great learning experiences, really. And that's one part of what we do, learning technologies, which is Totara at the end of the day, a very broad suite for talent experience. And another thing is learning content, obviously, that is needed. And we're also happy to have worked with SPAR on this project for a long time now, and I won't keep it longer than that. In case anyone is interested later on, happy to answer questions in the chat, and we'll hand it over again to Michael and Georgi.
Thanks, Michael. So if we go back to the beginning of the sort of solution, Michael, and learn more about what it was that you were starting with and how you've progressed the platform over time, it'd be great to learn about that.
Yeah, for sure. So that's the roadmap. And to look back, so I started at SPAR 2011, so quite a long time ago, and saw that the learning platform this time was not longer adequate. So it was an old system, was nice, but not future stable. But in the group, as you can imagine, it took longer and until I had the opportunity to make a step forward. Yeah. In this case, I presented, luckily, a prototype based on Totara to the Hervis management, together with a colleague of mine, and they have been fascinated about this. So we had good luck, started in the year 2016, so that's also quite a long time ago, so 6 years with Totara. And we started there at Hervis, and the next step was to take Austria, yeah? And we had the chance to get all the units in Austria on board 2 years later. And that was a great success, because in Austria there are about 50,000 people. And in the next step, that took a little bit longer, also in preparation, because there are many key players that has to be involved in an international project. So it took 2 years to get the project done, yeah, the international project, and to onboard all the countries, as you may imagine at the map of the beginning, into Totara. Yeah. And this was quite a long journey, and hopefully this will be completed by the end of this year. Currently, we are busy with Hervis, because some countries are not in the system, and they will be integrated by the end of year, like Romania. So we also need the language adopted, and so on and so on. So 6 years, but we reached our goal by the end of this year, and I'm very, very happy about this, and thankful for the support of the community and LearnChamp, and Totara.
Brilliant. And obviously you've got over 90,000 users. So I imagine that comes with a lot of complex data, and managing that data is probably quite complicated. So can we have a look at how you sort of manage these data sets?
Yeah, for sure. So I have tried to simplify the integration of Totara into the system architecture. And Georgi, can you support me with the technical additions? So hopefully, I do it the right way.
Behind this simple Totara overlay here, there is a huge amount of efforts going in order to keep the system up and running, to get the proper load into the system, all the work we have done there is, and to make also the integration. So starting a project, and that's the thing which helped us at the beginning, and also now we didn't start with a big bang. We start with a project here with a small pilot, and then roll out every other unit in the next years. And do also additional integration step by step. That's I think the right way. Of course, the other way is also possible, but it comes with a big headache when something went wrong. And Totara is scalable. You can have even more than 100,000 users, as we know, but it should be adapted to the needs of the company. And these needs are not only Totara here. Company like SPAR needs additional system connected to it, with the perfect timing for the data exchange between these systems, because there should be also the quality and the security of the data included into this planning. And that wasn't possible without very, very close cooperation between SPAR and us, and also additional technical experts on SPAR side helped a lot, and are still keeping the system and this integration is up and running. Very Michael, very standard feature here will be, and you're showing them what's the HR there and what are we doing with this data. So the HR import behind it.
So at the beginning, the big challenge is that there are a lot of SAP instances, and they should all be merged into one system, into Totara, and that's really the tricky thing. And so we have the user data, we have the positions, the jobs of the people. We also use job assignments, so that's the relationship between the organization, the user, and the manager, and we also have the organizational structure. So we really use the full power of Totara in this case, and we are syncing this data every 24 hours into the system, just the deltas, just the change, and that's quite a lot. And so we do that overnight, because it's very important that the data is up to date and correct, because our onboarding process starts at 7 o'clock in the morning, and people in the outlets start with an onboarding course. So therefore it's really necessary to have the correct data there. As everywhere, not always all the employees are in the SAP system, so we also have external partners which have to be in Totara, So there's another process. And on the other hand, data goes out from Totara, so it's really connected in the system architecture. So we have SAP event management, I think it's called in English. So there's a web service to do all the billing in SAP, yeah, outgoing, and this is really nice. So we switch that to the web service, and that's working really good. On the other hand, we have some connections to SAP FE Finance, yeah, to be able to to do payments directly from the system. We have also a connection to the SAP qualification catalog, and we started to use a competency model, and we try to move all the competencies from Totara to SAP, so back to SAP. And there's also a file-based connection to our BSC card. So Totara delivers all the data for the KPIs, and this will be displayed in the stores. And yeah, so we really improved all the systems around, and we try to optimize so the data load from one system to the other. Yeah.
And there is also everything according to the roadmap of Totara here. So together with new web service features and API possibilities in the future, we would like to just remove some file-based transfers when possible. Of course, it depends on the other systems you are using here. So my suggestion here is work very closely with your third-party system experts in order to be in sync and to plan changes as part of your Totara roadmap or your project roadmap. Yeah, that's very important. The quality of the data is crucial for SPAR, like Michael said. Your continuous professional development in the company depends on this data.
Brilliant. So very simple. I've just put a link there as well on the Academy, and you can learn more about positions, organizations, and job assignments, and how to build hierarchies in your Totara system as well. So if you're interested in doing some of these things, you can go and take a look in the Academy there. Okay, so obviously with the system this large, you must have a good testing system that you put in place when you change anything in the system. How does that work?
Yeah. So over time, it has become clear that one test system and one productive system is not enough. Yeah, and we also have a lot of colleagues. We had on the other hand, we had a chance to learn a lot from our colleagues from the e-commerce department, especially in the tool world. And so both things, so to have a stable architecture and to have the right tools for communication and doing the testing was really efficient. And as you see here, by now we have 3 systems. They are similar. We have a test system. This is just for technical tests, so it's not accessible for the key users. Then we have an acceptance system that can be accessed by all the key users, and that will be used for the testing process for a new release. For example, we use that for the 16.3, and every organizational unit has to do tests and has to command these tests and has to pass these tests. And finally, the last step is then to push the new update or the changes or the developments to the productive system. And this was really a good hint from LearnChamp to configure it this way, to have 3 systems, and it's worth to do that, because if you crash the productive system, that's not a good idea. Yeah.
Very important thing here with what we did with Michael was define next to the upgrades we do for the system, also the work on the sprints we are doing here. It's been done along these 3 systems, of course. And also the access. SPAR has something called like frozen zone times in the year where you're not allowed to change something on the production system. So every code change, every upgrade should be planned. And all 3 systems have the exact same architecture on the server side also, in order to have the same result every time, and the exactly the same APIs and web services combined here. Yeah.
Thanks, Georgie.
Yeah.
So one of the things that quite a lot of people have written to me about in the last week or so, they've been really interested in learning more about the fact that this is such a big multi-tenanted site as well. And I'd love to learn more about that. Obviously, this is a great system for testing as well. I think everyone can learn a lot from that. Just before we move on to multi-tenancy, we've got one quick question. Maybe Georgie or Michael, you could answer this. How does SPAR connect the data from the different HR systems into one HR import file? I don't know if you actually do that.
Michael, you know it.
Should I?
Yeah, if you can.
So I try to. So that's under the hood. So yeah, it was really a challenge. So they got it's file based by now, and hopefully it will be in future handled by web service. And this is really a process because each SAP instance delivers the CSV file, and there's a merging process where all these CSV files are put together. And therefore it takes at the moment quite a long time to get the data in, but the process is fine. And yeah, it took some months to get it really up, because as you can imagine, the info types in these instances are different and has to be transformed. And there's also the language issue, which maybe could be a little bit tricky if the language encoding is not fitting and so. And but now they are up and they're handling this process. And luckily, if we are looking forward with Totara 17, maybe there's a big change, a big improvement, don't know, to set this up maybe as a web service, but yeah,
Okay,
it's working now.
That's great. Thanks, Michael. So yeah, so we're coming back to the idea of multi-tenancy as well. So yeah, lots of people have been really interested in this. So I'd love to learn more about how that works.
Yeah, and I just forgot to mention, but time is short. So especially the communication process is very important in the tools you're using. And so don't want to go in depth. So there's Confluence, Jira, and MS Teams and so. And we are now really experienced in doing that. And we avoid one-to-one communication and really using tools where everyone has the relevant info in time. Yeah. But going on, so as you see, I like this picture because it's SPAR is really an organizational universe, yeah. And without structuring, it would have been not possible to set up the system and to fulfill the requirements of the many organizational units, yeah. And each organization has its own processes and requirements, and not to mention a corporate design that creates identity and must be reflected on the system. And so, yeah, from a school in Vienna to hypermarkets, to stores, to shopping centers, so there's everything in. Yeah? And for us, there was really need to think about that and to get all the organizational units with their branding and their requirements on board. Yeah? And so fortunately, just in time, the solution was developed for us by Totara exactly at the right time. So this is about multi-tenancy. And this way, so to offer each organization unit the opportunity to have their own area of responsibility and with their own brand and designing options for the content was really very, very helpful. And as you see, that's just a simple graph. Each unit has their own space, yeah. But the creation of a shared area for cross-group content was also very important in this context for me, because this makes Totara more and more to a central hub in the organization, and that's just the beginning. And with this option of multi-tenancy, each organizational unit has their own space in Totara, their own brand, and also the setting is GDPR compliant. So you're only allowed to see the data you should see, and that was very, very helpful and was just in time implemented.
And we did it also step by step here. We choose, I think, Michael, firstly, 2 main tenants in order to introduce, and then the countries were introduced as a single tenant. That's again part of your data quality coming through the HR import, where everything is being defined to in order to have really the right access, because if you have the wrong access through multi-tenancy, talk to your partners or look into the Totara Academy, where it's pretty clear described how you can set up the right way. We don't have here the very strict multi-tenancy when everything is completely separated, because with that we cannot have a shared area. But Michael, with adaptation to the roles, did a very fine job in order to give to the tenant managers the only things they need in their work, and not to mess things up. It's in such huge numbers of users, it's very important to have it.
Yeah,
that's great. And as a result of that multi-tenancy being used in the system, what does the user experience feel like for different users as they log in for different brands?
Yeah, good point. So let's move on. For us in the implementation, it was very important, as I mentioned, that each organizational unit can implement their look and feel into the system. Yeah, and Totara really offers a lot of individual setting options here. And here's an example of the login page as it is now. And when a user logs into the system for the first time, he will get this standard login page. And there are cookies, and the system, your browser will remember where it came from. And with the next logon, you get the customized login page. And these are really smart gimmicks Totara offers. And so people are coming home. Yeah, and this is, for example, the login page from INTERSPAR. So that is the unit with the hypermarkets. And that's the login page, for example, for the ICS department. They have also their own instance because they're also international, and they have also their own brand.
That's amazing. Yeah, great. And do you have lots of comments about that as well? People happy with the result of that?
Yeah, so we got really good feedback, and so as you see on the left-hand side, there are a lot of logos, and so for the different organizational units, most of them are academies. For the SPAR outlets, we decided to call it SEP, so SPAR Education Power Program, and this is also SEP is also the first name of our sales chief, and that was funny and made people talk about. And I really love this this colorful, pictureful options to get access to learning.
Great. And do you use any other features that the users have a different experience when after they log in?
Yes, for sure. So let's move on. For example, the dashboard. So that's the dashboard. That's the first page they will see in the system after logging in. And there's a dashboard for an employee in the outlets. And he sees on the first page his Sollausbildung, the education path he should follow. And so he really knows what to do when. And that was really helpful. And to transform all these educational concepts to the system and to display it in the right way, that was very helpful. And there's also a dashboard for each different site, and it depends on the needs of the organizational units, and they really can adopt it their way, because Totara is very flexible, dealing with blocks and customization in this field.
Brilliant. And when it comes to finding learning, how do the learners find their training?
Yeah, good question. So there's the course catalog, and that's the central training catalog, which thanks to the filter options is very easy in handling, and leads people quickly to the courses they are looking for. And the nice thing is with LearnChamp together, we have been able to adopt the filters for each tenant. So each organization unit can have their own filters. Imagine retail, for example, food retail maybe has other tags than sports retail. And this was a nice feature, and we implemented this. And you see the course catalog from Hervis in this screen. And there is another sample for the international organization. And I think, to be honest, this is Croatia. I think so.
Yeah, so
Hopefully.
it looks completely different, doesn't it? And they have different filters at the side that you say there.
Yeah. So they can really be adopted in a smart way. Yeah, that's true.
Something else you'd like to say about that, Georgie?
Actually, the filters were the main focus here in order to separate the tenants. And so if you're looking for shoe training in Hervis, then you should not see how to clean the vegetables in the retail store. And in order not to confuse to give the best user experience. And our focus was really technical side on the side, but if the user experience is missing here and the employees using the systems are not happy with it and just doing it where I had to do it again, then we should change something. And we see the results, and the numbers show the results because of that. So you're in your world here. If you're part of Hervis or from the INTERSPAR Academy, you feel where you belong to.
Brilliant, thank you.
The very important point is to keep it simple. Yeah, to really keep it simple. Yeah.
That's my whole life philosophy. Okay, so Lee is asking a question, which is probably going to move on to the next slide, which will be useful. Is do you use programs or certifications in your online training?
Yes, that's true. So there are some legal courses where some legal requirements are set up. So for example, hygiene has to be passed every year, and therefore we use certifications, and that's really helpful. And on the other hand, programs are mainly used. So for all the, as you have seen in the stream before, all the educational pathways are set up through programs, and that's also very helpful because then you can track on the program level where people are and what the needs are. And yeah, I love that. Yeah. So this kind of compilation of content. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thanks, Michael. And you're going to show us a little bit more about your online training next?
Yeah, for sure. So moving on, and also the courses themselves have been kept very simple. Here's an example for the employees of the outlets, and they by now contain only a few activities, and not to lose the focus. And mainly there's an Scrum package, an e-learning course. In some areas they get a certificate as their own activity, as you can see. And what's also important for us always to improve things, they have the option to give feedback. Yeah? So when they pass the Scrum package, the e-learning, they are allowed to give feedback, and they receive a certificate for their own. And yeah, and by the way, Totara offers really excellent possibility to handle with pictures and to make the surface nicer, as we have seen before. And we have a lot of pictures at SPAR as a grocer or sports retail dealer. So that's great to play around.
Brilliant, thank you very much. One question we got coming in from Julie is just asking, can you choose different themes across different tenants?
Yes, so it's possible to define the themes per course individually. So it has not to be combined with the tenant. Yeah? So you can have different themes in one tenant, so that's easy possible. And by now I'm not sure, Georgi, how this theme is called. We mainly use the same theme because people are used to it, and we avoid to change themes too often. Yeah.
What we have done here together with SPAR is usually when you adapt something in a custom theme of Totara, you have to program it in the code. What we have achieved here is like 90% of the features you see here are configurable: shapes, corners, icons, colors, more colors usually than the standard Ventura are implemented in order to cover the corporate identity of each company here. And it's completely adaptive, so we can have different visual experience according to company. They look the same because the main company, the mothership is having the same requirements in each division. but you're able to change everything as an admin actually without code knowledge.
Yeah, that's really nice. Yeah.
Kind of a few questions about multi-tenancy. I'm just going to post a couple of links to our help documentation in a moment, just because it's quite a big topic as well. So, and also you can come back with more specific questions for us in the community as well. But just to push on a little bit, if we have a look at the learning record map.
Yeah. So yeah, the learning record. So there is also very clear. It's very clearly laid out. And there is only a few relevant pieces of information displayed, because there also is the principle of data minimization, which is required by GDPR that applies here. But yeah, so you only need to know the type of learning, the title, the duration, and if it's passed or not. And that's all we deliver in the area of a learning record to the employee and to their staff manager. Yeah, and that looks pretty the same to the other organization units in their brand, for example.
Brilliant. And obviously, one of the questions that we always get, Michael, is how do you engage learners? How do you motivate them? How do you make them take training? Is it mandatory, or do you have elements of gamification as well?
Yeah, so both. I would say both parts. So with a big organization like the or organization unit like the SPAR outlets, there's really a need to have a structured education pathways with timestamps, or due times. That you can be sure that people have the right qualification for their job. And on the other hand, you have to assure that legal requirements are fulfilled. So there is a little pressure to do these courses. On the other hand, we also integrated a lot of social skills courses from Good Habits. So then, and we offer them for free. So if someone is interested, there is a whole bunch of courses they can consume and can pass if they want at home, for example. So it depends. And we see that the number rises, especially with social skills trainings, and that they are not required. Yeah.
Okay, but you also have some elements of gamification in the system.
Yeah. And to be honest, so I got this idea from IBM. And so, yeah, and that was years ago. I got this inspiration, and the former learning management system wasn't able to handle this. But with Totara, it's not possible. And there are badges for different training levels, and they are very popular with the employees. And there's, and there's still something of hunting, gathering people. In any case, I think they're really motivating, and so you get for several steps in the education you get or in the training you get badges, and there is really a huge number of badges now in the system. And so one of the first badges is my start at SPAR, and there are around 20,000 badges. So more than 20,000 people pass this educational step. Yeah.
You can never have enough badges.
Yeah.
Michael, one quick question on that. Because you have the different themes as well, the different multi-tenants, is that possible to theme the badges as a result of those tenants as well?
Yeah, for sure. So each tenant has their own badges, and the only tricky thing is if there is a common share, you have to be aware that the badges are compatible in the illustration. Yeah. So, but that's possible. So very flexible. Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered a little bit here about some of the great ways you're managing learning across the platform for SPAR, but you're also managing performance management across the platform as well. So we'll just have a quick dive into how performance management's being managed across SPAR.
So really a quick dive. So the short story is, we have been using Totara Perform since the beginning of this year, and this was an important step towards offering further services with Totara. And in this case, we replaced the SAP application that was not performant and not very easy to fill out. Yeah. And together with LearnChamp, we've made a few adjustments. Here, for example, we introduced an element that offers to track the completion of courses, and also an element to define criteria at the end if there should be if the performance talk was successful, that could lead to a payment of a bonus to the apprentice. And so we made some small adoptions, and this was really, really successful. And just to give you a picture, so this is how it looks like. So there is an on icon in the main menu, and this leads to the performance tasks, and that's really nice and very handy to use. Yeah, and by now we have around 15,000 performance tasks since the beginning of this year, and it's really stable and it's working very, very fine. Yeah, so our apprentices have to do, I think, about 2,000 talks per month around, and that's heavy load. Yeah.
And just for me, Michael, could you pronounce the word at the top there?
Sorry, that's German.
Yeah, it's good.
Geführte Lehrlingsgespräche seit Anfang des Jahres. So that are the apprentice talks since the beginning of the year.
That's great. That's good. Thank you. Okay. And yeah, did you have anything else to say about performance management?
Yeah, for sure. Just in very short. So it helped us to minimize manual processes that have been around the SAP application. That was really fine. And it's very flexible because you can integrate elements, you can develop elements that could be part of the performance tasks. And that's really helpful in this case. And there's a transparency because you can define who is allowed to see the results of the talks, and that's all in. Yeah, and I love that. And on the other hand, it's in future it should be one system for everything. And by now we're using Learn and Perform, and there's also Engage on the roadmap. And maybe we look next year into this, and yeah, to really support people in their role out in the stores. And what's important is that it's also simple to do adjustments, and that's really fulfilled. Yeah, so it's easy to adopt the performance task. Yeah.
That's a good prelude to the next slide you want.
Okay.
So because integration here is integration into Totara, and the integration is between Totara Perform and Totara Learn, where my learning shows as part of the whole feedback to my direct manager. We talk with him, then he makes his remarks into the system, and the system sends automatically the data to the SAP system, where I can get my bonus according to the results. And Totara, as you all know, flexible to integrate with different systems. We showed some parts of it at the beginning. Here's the big overview. We have a lot of SAP systems integrated directly with Totara. In some cases, it's file-based. In some cases, it's web services. All the users with on SPAR site with Active Directory, actually Azure AD accounts, are able to use the system via single sign-on, of course. We have all the integrations to the standard API system or web services of Totara, which includes here just a quick glimpse into them. Seminar management integration with completions ID. Is the seminar also available? So we're getting data from SAP. If the same seminar is available on the SAP site, we're including this data live into Totara, where when you choose your seminar form, creating a seminar activity into Totara. User management, the whole user data and the feedback about the user data. So we're getting once from the SAP HR system, the user data through HR import, but we're getting back feedback through the standard reporting possibilities of Totara here to SAP. And of course, the last slide you saw is the performance management data. Course completions, check-in data in this case is something between check-in and feedback rounds we have for the apprenticeship employees, and the competencies, which are really, really important. And last but not least, there is also an app. The app is being published as a SPAR app. That's the Totara app here. but branded as a SPAR app being used. And further integrations we're having or we're planning to have here, because a system in such a big company cannot live by itself, but it's integrated as part of other third-party systems.
I just want to say thanks so much, Georgie and Michael, for taking us through this. I know I know you've done a really quick tour of a really large platform, and like I say, if people do have further questions about the platform, we can ask those in the community as well. But if we were to just look at some of their high-level results, Michael, what are some of the best things about the platform?
Okay, for sure. Because I feel a little bit under pressure, then later there will be dinner. So let's talk about the results. So I'm happy to share the results with you, even if they sound relatively simply. It took a lot of energy and to achieve them at all. So at first, it was to set up a group-wide system for all the countries. Before, there have been installations by country and they have not been connected. And now Totara is really the one-stop shop for learning and development for the whole company. And this gives a big chance to have a shared area for all the trainings, which should be available for the most people. Yeah. And the other success was that the managers, especially the store managers, now have the always up-to-date overview of the learning of record of their people, or of the performance tasks and so on. And especially in the field of legally required training, because if you don't fulfill the requirements, then you get a fine, and no one wants that. And the system is hosted centrally in the data center of our IT department. So it is in our hands. That was a wish. And further developments are coordinated now, and we take care that the new features and plugins are available for all the units and useful for all the units. So we have to talk to all of them if someone rises and requests. So we try to fit it this way that is helpful for all units, and that really works now. And it's now clear that my team has the responsibility on the technical side and the professional side to set up the system and to support the whole organization. And now we have a modern, up-to-date system that works very nice on every device. Mainly every device, as we know. And we are now with Totara 16.3, and we love it.
Keep the system updated. It's our technical feedback along the roadmap of Totara.
Thanks, Georgie. Thanks, Michael. That's my favorite thumbs up image of all time, Michael. So if we have a link, so if you're someone else and you're in the same position, you're trying to build a large platform such as yourselves, what lessons have you learned, or what advice would you give to people if they're in the same position as you?
Okay. So the experience are also diverse. In any case, it's essential that the learning management system with up-to-date, that the learning management system has up-to-date and correct HR data. Unless if this is not the case, it's similar to a car without fuel, so that's useless. And if I had the chance to introduce such a system again, I would look very critical at existing processes and question them much more than I did. And I got this hint from Georgi to prove really the processes. Can maybe this process be optimized and so on? So check the processes. That's really relevant. And it's also important that all the key players and relevant persons are always well informed. And wherever possible, avoid pure one-to-one communication via email. So we only use MS Teams with channels, and everyone is up to date. And the most important thing is, even if there are setbacks, sometimes could happen, don't let them get you down, and never lose the sight of your goal. So that's very important. So data, processes, and communication, that's my hint. And then each project will be a success. So thanks from my side. Yeah.
Thanks, Michael. We've got a few questions coming in, which I'll just try and maybe we can take these now. But thanks so much to all of you for taking us through and to learn more about LearnChamp today. So one of the questions we have specifically about the course catalog and just how you set it up to have those different filters and yeah, how complex is that? Perhaps Georgie or Michael.
Yeah, what you should consider here is don't touch the core code for that, if possible. We are seeing in different systems or different Totara systems also core code changes because of multi-tenancy goals. This particular feature is being done through a plugin using the tags in the system, so tagging the courses here in order to be able to filter them according to your tenant membership here. So the plugin is checking your tenant membership and is displaying the filters you should see here.
And it's very flexible because
yeah, that's part of our work with Totara, to be honest, because we're getting the idea from Michael and what he needs, and we're getting this feedback back to Totara in order to include it into the roadmap as part of the multi-tenancy features.
Thanks, Mike. Georgie. Another question: when you're showing the team progress or users progress on their course completion or their program completion, how do you display that in your setup?
For the employees,
Yeah,
so it's in the program display. Yeah, we thought about this because there's the progress bar or with programs, and so we just use we just use the simple structure of the program display, and it was very helpful for us just to show the people where they are in the process, and to tell them, okay, this course is completed and you have to do the next one. So it's the ordering was very helpful. Yeah. And with reporting, we look at the process, or progress, sorry. Yeah.
Great, thanks very much. Does anyone have any further questions before we finish today? And like I say, if you do have complex technical questions, or you're looking for something different that's not been shown today, feel free to post that in the comments of the webinar afterwards, and we'll come back to you and give you some more information. Yeah, if anyone has any further questions, feel free to say now. But otherwise, thank you so much for running us through your platform today. I appreciate it's a large platform. I'm from a town of about 1,000 people, so 90,000 employees. It's hard for me to imagine even. So great work to all of you for what you've achieved here. But yeah, does anyone have any final comments from myself, Michael, or from Georgie, or from Michael?
So I say thanks a lot. I was very happy to share the SPAR story with the community today, and I'm sorry for my English. German, it would be much easier, but I hope you could follow my track.
I think your English is better than mine, Michael. And Georgie and Michael.
Thank you very much. Consult, talk to your partners, through your customers, through your project team, in order to achieve good results. That's my feedback here.
Talk to Georgie. I think that's the
no,
feedback.
talk to Michael and Georgie.
Yeah, have a great day, everyone. I think thanks for the attention, and yeah, if there's any questions later on, use the community or reach out by email. Happy to answer any questions that come up.
Okay, well, thanks so much to you all, and this recording will be available afterwards. So thanks, Michael, and I hope you enjoy your trip to Madrid next week as well. That sounds fun.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thanks, everyone. Goodbye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.